Hello, my name is Kenny Perez, and I would like to welcome you to this Wushu training tape series. This first tape shall cover warming up and stretching. Before we get into that, I'd like to give you a bit of the background about Wushu. Wushu comes from China. Wushu means war art. Wushu has a history of over 2,000 years in China. Wushu is the artistic interpretation of physical combat, whether barehanded or with the utilization of weapons. It can be done individually, in pairs, or in groups. Wushu can be done as a form of exercise. It can be done as a form of self-defense. It can be done as a sport. Also, it can be done as an art form. Wushu is very diverse. There's something for everybody, be it young or old, man or woman. Anybody can benefit from learning Wushu. There is also a division of Wushu. Northern styles are different from the southern styles. Northern styles tend to be a bit more acrobatic. Southern styles tend to rely on more handwork. Use of the bridge arm is a popular southern style technique. All these styles have their roots back since the first man in China picked up a club and made it a weapon. Then it developed and it became more instrumental in the armies of China. Then it became so diverse with over 300 styles that they had to standardize it and conglomerate it into one art form which could be generalized and used by the public. The first time they did that was in the late 20s. Then again, they re-standardized it in the early 50s or late 40s. Wushu as we know it today, progressive Wushu, is a modern version, but its essence relies on self-defense techniques that were proven since the war days of long ago, before the implementation of guns, rifles, etc. In the old days, they had to rely on these techniques. So these techniques were proven to be effective. When Wushu, one notices that there's a heavy emphasis on the practice of routines. A routine should be taken just for what it is, a routine. In actual fighting, nobody does a routine. Nobody does a complete routine as they learned it. A routine is a way of categorizing old techniques to keep this style separated. It's a way of perpetuating an individualized style. But it should not be taken as a way of fighting. All martial artists, which I have seen in my training, no matter this style or that style, when they get into the ring and competition-wise, everybody fights pretty much the same. So Wushu forms are used to separate the styles and to perpetuate the martial arts of olden days China. Before we get started with stretching, I'd like to warm up. And warm up is vital to every sport, no matter karate, full contact, football, games, individual sports, team sports. Everybody has to warm up. And warm up is a crucial factor for preventing injury. Without properly warming up and you go out there and try and do something, it's been known to happen. Injuries result. Okay, I'd like to start with some neck warm-ups and then we'll go down the body. First exercise is side to side with the neck, just to get those kinks out, moving your neck from side to side. Of course, in Wushu you use a lot of snap, and this can be seen in exercises such as having your head like this and snapping to cause yourself to look in this direction, such as this. 1. The snap has got to be quick. 2. Okay, and Wushu, this adds to the flavor of the routine if you have good snap. So loosen up your neck from side to side or around in a circle. If you'd like to tip it back, it's up to you. Some people say it's not good. Okay. After do your neck from side to side, then let's go to your shoulders. Your shoulders, you can do these easy exercises, which are circle forward. 5 is sufficient, or 8. And then circle reverse. This, of course, loosens up your shoulders so you can get those full swings without tearing the cuff muscles up here in your shoulder. You can crisscross, just from here, cross, over and under. These are just various exercises. Do whichever ones you feel comfortable with. Okay. Let's go to our waist now. From the waist, just twisting from side to side. Try and isolate your waist so your hips don't turn. Just use your waist. You don't want to do it too violently because, again, you might hurt yourself. So just take an easy warm-up like this. Turn, twist, and turn. If you had a wall available, you could stand away from the wall behind you, put your hands on the wall, and look back and twist this way, using your hands to support you in this manner. Okay. So the waist must be limber because one of the traits of Wushu is snapping power. Snapping power comes from a relaxed state. a relaxed state. And it also comes from the coiling effect, and the coiling effects, or the dynamo of this energy, comes from the waist being supple. Supple as a dragon. Okay, so after we use our waist, we get it warmed up to a level you feel comfortable with. Then we're going to start swinging, bending and bowing, bending and bowing. Bending forward, bowing backwards to loosen up your lower back. And in this position, I'll do it once this way, and then I'll turn off slightly so you can see the angle. Just from here, bending down, just let your body hang. If you can go through your legs, because they are separated, and then swing back. Try not to bend your knees that much on the way back. So you're bending forward and bowing back. Just do a few more just to warm it up with me. 3, 2, 1. Okay? Bending and bowing is crucial because a lot of times you have to duck and dodge techniques, be it with empty hands or with weapons. Besides the bending and bowing, there's twisting and turning. Twisting and turning on the waist. We did one exercise like this. The next exercise is called waist circles. And this is done in a fashion like from here, again, in a straddle stance, which is comfortable for you. Swinging your arms, reaching forward with both arms, and circling around, behind, and back to the front. Okay. And what you want to do is go as big as you can and let your waist roll in this manner. And you can go both directions. You have to keep your body weight centered over your legs and don't extend your knees, because then you'll lose your balance. So from here, both directions, one way and then the other way. This, of course, warms up your back as well as your waist. After we bend and bow, twist and turn, circle our shoulders, we want to work on our feet, our legs. There's standing stretches and sitting stretches. We're going to go through a sequence which will flow. So from here, first stretch is touching your hands to your toe. Your feet can be together. They can be shoulder width apart. Again, wherever you feel comfortable. Some people don't feel as comfortable with their feet straight together. So natural stance for me. It's natural posture here. Bend down, reaching with your fingers, of course, keeping your back straight. You don't want to curve your back. And if I show you sideways, see the curve in my back. This is not good for you because you're separating your vertebrae back here. You can stretch it out. You want to keep your back straight as possible and stretch from the hips, the lower back, in this manner. So this is the way you want to stretch. Okay. After you can touch your fingers, then the second level would be your hands, your fists. In this manner. 1, 2, 3. Work your way down until you feel comfortable. Don't let it pull. If you feel any type of sharp pain as you're stretching, you better look out, because those sharp burning sensations are the muscles tearing. And depending on your condition, that's not good for you. So as far as you feel comfortable without feeling that burning sensation, if you can put your palms down, great. Then try and grab your ankles would be the next level. Okay? Pulling your chest down over your knees as far as you can go, keeping your back as straight as possible. And I'm looking towards the ground, so I know my back is straight. If I was this way, my back would be more curved. From the side again, try and keep your back as straight as possible. Of course, it's going to bend slightly, but the ideal is to keep it perfectly straight. Okay. After I feel comfortable with this, I'd say maybe hold it for an 8 count. And we'll do it one time together. Down. Pull yourself down and hold it as low as you can for 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, then come back up naturally. When you come up, you can come up with a straight back in this manner, or you can just kind of stretch it out slowly this way, come up slowly. Both ways are a little bit different. Okay. After you can do this in this manner, the next thing you'd want to do is maybe touch your elbow to your toe, which would be the next level. Elbow to your toe is done in a phoenix stretch fashion. Phoenix stretch meaning one leg is bent, one leg is straight, the heel on the ground, the toes pulled back, and this leg, of course, is straight. Most of the weight is on the back leg. From here, grab your feet with 2 hands, and then you do your stretch one more time like this. Then you bend one elbow and try and touch your elbow to the tip of your toe. Again, once you start doing it, maybe count to 8 on each side, opposite elbow. That loosens up not just your hamstring, it also loosens up the muscles in the back of your calf and even the ankle and under the feet, as well as the lower back. Okay. So this is a full stretch. You'll feel it. You'll feel it from the top of your head to the bottom of your toe. So when you do this, this is a vital stretch for Wushu because you have to have loose hamstrings for quickness, loose hamstrings for power, loose hamstrings to get height. Okay. After you learn to touch your elbow to your toe, then you try and get to touching your head to your toe, which is a more advanced level. And same manner, in this position right here, toe is pulled back. Use 2 hands, pulling yourself towards your toe, and you try and touch your toe again to your forehead or the top of your head, like this. And then you count to 10 or 8. Then you do it again, opposite side. Let me do it for you this side. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, like I said, you'll feel the stretch all the way up. Vital for kicks, such as a stretch kick in this manner. Okay, again, when you kick, keeping your back straight, toes pulled back, you'll see the action. If without the hamstrings conditioned like this, you're going to tear a hamstring. So that's what this exercise is for. The next stretch is called the Po-Bu stretch, or lazy dog stretches his tail. And that's done in this fashion, like this. Again, your legs are opened up to a comfortable width, such as a horse stance width, maybe a little bit wider. From here, you drop down to one side. Trying to keep your back straight. The ideal look of this stance is knee is over the ankle instead of turned in. But for warming up purposes, just feel a relaxed positioning of your body. From this position, grabbing your ankles or your feet. This will anchor your body down low. From here, you shift from one side to the other side. And this will warm up your hips, your knees, and your ankles. These postures are called drop stances because they're used to drop under an attack, such as a high kick or getting out of the way of a weapon. Shifting side to side. Another version of the exercise is maybe switching your hand grip. From here, crisscross, so the opposite hand touches the opposite foot or ankle. And you can stretch by pulling your head down. Of course, try it on both sides because you don't want to be lopsided. Okay. The next exercise is just a straddle. Not necessarily a split, but just a straddle to warm up because we'll get to the splits a little bit later. This is more or less a concentration on the hips itself. From here, if you can go forward, put your chest down, and then you can walk back. And what you're doing is isolating the hips as you roll them forward. If you were looking at my hip here, you'll see that I'm rolling to stretch each muscle individually as I'm going forward and back. This helps your hips to loosen up quicker. Now I'm sitting down, okay? Again, a width which is most comfortable for you. Start first by trying to touch your toes. If you can touch your toes, the next level would be grabbing your feet, pulling yourself down from side to side. 1, 2. Again, following up on that, elbow, to both sides, of course. Holding it for the count of 8 is a good, comfortable time limit. You don't want to overstretch as you're warming up. Okay. After you touch your elbows, you can try and touch your head to your toe the same way as you were standing. This next stretch is called a butterfly stretch, and it's done with your legs in this fashion. Soles of the feet touching each other, legs opened up. Your heels should be pulled to a comfortable position close to your crotch. From here, grabbing your ankles, or most people are known to grab their feet. I like to tell you to grab your ankles because if you grab your feet, you can cheat by pulling your toes away from the ground. If you grab your ankles, it's harder to lift your ankles as you're stretching. So this stretch, the idea is to touch your head to your toes. From here, you pull yourself forward and go down all the way to your toes, holding it for a count of 8 is good. At the same time, you can use your elbows to press your legs down lower as you're going down. The next stretch is one leg in front. This is a modified hurdler stretch, and that the leg is in front of you here as compared to the other hurdler stretch where the foot is put behind in this manner. Some people say that this type of hurdler stretch is not very good for the knee joint because the tension on the knee. So this modified hurdler stretch is a little bit more comfortable for some people. In this fashion, again, your leg is pulled in tight to your body and the other leg is extended straight. The knee is locked. Reaching forward, you try and grab your foot with 2 hands and pull yourself down over your leg until your head or your nose or your chin consecutively can touch your knee. Try and go past your knee after that. Try and go up your shin closer towards your feet until eventually you can touch your head to your toe. Of course, before you can touch your head to your toe, maybe you learn to touch your elbow to your toe. You can always switch one elbow, the other elbow. One side, the other side. You have to stretch both sides evenly. Some people think it's also maybe best to stretch your bad side first and concentrate more on your bad side, and then you go to your good side, as compared to doing your bad side last and probably not spending enough time on it. From here, you do the opposite side, one leg in, one leg out. Pull yourself down over your knee. Try and get your elbows to your toe. The farther back your toes stretch, the more you'll feel this stretch. This time we're going to put both legs in front like this. From here, you're reaching forward to grab your toes. This exercise is called hugging your feet because the next level, or the more advanced level, you would reach past your feet, interlacing your hands in this manner and pulling yourself down. So in actuality, you're hugging your feet. Holding this for maybe 8 counts is good enough, whichever feels comfortable for you. You don't want to overstretch. If I change the angle a little bit, you might get a better view. From here, pull, stretch. Okay. Next level would be maybe touching your elbows to your toes, if you can touch your elbow to your toe. Either toe, either elbow. Then you know you're getting a good full stretch. The last level would be touching your head to your toe. So it's almost like you have to lift your heel away from the ground to get your toes to touch your head. So you don't just stretch like this, you stretch like this. As you're pulling yourself toward your toe. An 8 count is sufficient for this type of stretch. Okay. This next posture is called cross-sitting. Cross-sitting is used to loosen up the hips, also the rotor muscles of the hip joint, which are on the outside. This cross-sitting posture, when you stretch, you want to make sure, or the idea is to get rid of a gap which will exist right between the legs here. You don't want to be able to have this gap here. So when you're stretching, you're striving to get rid of this gap and make one knee directly on top of the other knee without a gap here. From here, you have to keep your back straight when you stretch again, from the lower back. Don't slouch when you stretch. Keep your back straight, bending forward, and press your legs down with your chest. Hold it again for a count of 8. The side view will give you a better idea of how you must keep your back straight. From the side here, you can see that if I stretch incorrectly, I'll probably slouch and stretch like this and I'm not getting the correct stretch, the proper stretch. You have to stretch with your back straight and let your chest touch your knees with your chest forward in this manner. And then again, holding it for the count of 8. Okay. From here, again, you can twist and look one way, twist and look the other way. Okay. This other stretch is a little bit more advanced. It's a sitting hamstring stretch, and the idea is touching your head to your toe. I'll do it once for you forward and sideways so you can see how it is done. The idea, again, keeping your back straight. Pull your knee to your chest. I'm going to use my left leg a little bit more so because I feel more comfortable this way. Grabbing your feet with 2 hands underneath. You're going to start by extending your legs straight out. But when you extend it, you want to make your toes come towards your head. The idea is to make your toes touch your head. So when you stretch like this, if you slouch, you will never be able to get your toes to your head. So you got to do it with the back straight. I'll do it for you forward, and then I'll show you sideways. From here, grabbing your foot with 2 hands, extending it up, touching your toes to your head. Let me turn sideways so you can see it again. Grabbing your feet with 2 hands. From here, you got to make sure your back is straight and your chest is forward. So sitting in this posture, not like this. Sit with your back straight, grabbing your foot, pull your toes back, touching your toes to your head. This stretch can also be done to the side, and it's done basically the same, but in this manner, you have to put your knee behind your shoulder to initiate this stretch. Pulling your toes up to the side of you, touching your toes to your head in this way. That's called a seated sideward leg stretch. One point I'd like to make is that there are variations of stretching. Case in point is static stretching. There's also bounce stretching. There's partner stretching. There's apparatus stretching. In static stretching, you reach a certain level and you hold it and you count like we're doing today here on this tape. 1, 2, 3, holding a position for a period of time. Bounce stretching is a little bit more advanced. Some people say it's not very beneficial to the body. And bounce stretching is good for people who are fit and maybe a little bit more younger with more supple muscle tissue. Bounce stretching is done such as the head to the toe. Instead of pulling down, you would bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce. And this is good for someone with advanced level of stretching. It's not really good for beginners. But it shouldn't be thrown out because in China, there is a whole generation of Wushu athletes that stretch in this manner. And I think they have some of the most awesome leg techniques I've seen. The next one is going to the splits. First, I'd like to do the front splits and then the side splits. The front splits, to me, one leg would be in front and one leg would be behind. I'll give you a front view and a side view so we can see how it works. To warm up into your front split, put one leg down in front, your knee bent, the back leg as straight as possible, lifting up the back heel and just kind of bounce. If I do this from the side, you might see it a little bit better how you bounce your hip down. This is a soft bounce, a supple bounce, not real hard. Okay? This will warm you up so you can try your full splits. Okay. So again, if I go back to the front, after I bounce a little bit, then I extend my leg as far as I can, keeping your back knee straight, keeping your front knee straight. Try and keep your hips parallel. Okay. Once you're in a comfortable position, you may have to use your hands to bear your weight. So don't be afraid about using your hands, depending on your level. From here, you might want to roll. I'm rolling my hip from side to side. This kind of helps the ligaments in the hip joint to loosen up. And then I bend forward and stretch towards my toes, pulling my toes back towards my head again. Roll and stretch, roll and stretch. From the side, Let me go this. From the side, trying to keep your back knee straight, your hips flat. Grabbing your foot, pulling yourself forward, and roll your hip. Even, I don't care what level you are, you could be a beginner level. If you're up here, it's still beneficial for you to roll your hip until you can make it touch the ground. Maybe it's not going to touch the ground right there, but if you bring it out to the front and it still touches the ground, you're helping your splits, you're helping your stretch. So even if your front leg is bent, or your front leg is straight, and this is as low as you can go, try and put that hip down. You'll feel a better stretch, a fuller stretch. The idea is with each stretch, not just to do the stretch and get up and say, okay, I did it. The idea is to break down each stretch into separate elements. Here I'm bending and I'm rolling. I'm working those hip joints. Then touching your head to your toe. Arching back as far as you can. An advanced variation would be pulling that back leg up and balancing as you're holding yourself. This stretches the quadriceps at the same time. Okay. Of course, stretch both sides. Stretch, 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 bounce. Drop your hip. Bounce, roll. To get a full stretch, you be sure and pull your toes back as you're doing the splits. This will get that lower calf muscle stretch as you're doing your splits. Touching your toe with your elbow. Okay, there's 3 different ways of doing the splits. The feet can be either flattened out as if you were standing, or they can be turned sideways, or they can be lifted up as you're going forward. Okay. Which is ever comfortable for you. I myself like to put my feet flat as I go down, again as far down as you can go. Use your hands for support. If you feel like you can't hold it all on your legs, then keep your hands down there. As time goes by, you can shift your weight to your legs. As low as you can go, putting your hands down. From here, lay forward, count to 8. Sit back. Now, if you do it like this, this is called a hip roller. What you're doing is you're stretching all the individual muscles inside the hip there. From here, sit, then I come back up. Notice how I'm rolling my hips. All the way down to the front. Back. Walk back. Down to here. Okay. Next, I'd like to concentrate or show you a little bit about the back. When you stretch, you have to also, don't forget the back. Some people forget about stretching their back. It's very crucial. This next stretch is for your lower back. And this is just a back stretch where you roll your feet back over your head. To do this, you have to lay on your back. So I'm going to shift my body a bit here to give you an idea that when you do this stretch, simply pull your feet back all the way over your head. What you're doing is stretching your back, the lower back as well as the upper back. If you want to bend your knees, you can. That is more comfortable for some people. If you want to keep your legs straight, you can. If you can touch your toes to the ground, that's fine too. Okay? If you can separate your legs and pull yourself up through and then try and straighten yourself this way, gives you a new view of things, stretches your back. It's a more advanced stretch, but you'll be able to eventually reach this level through proper conditioning and proper training. Okay? You can roll your back, which is a good lower back warm-up. Try and make each vertebrae stretch as you rock. Okay. Right. The next stretch is a back arch. Back arch because you're going to press from the ground as compared to a back bend, but it's the same posture. From here, separate your feet as wide as shoulder width apart, or what is ever comfortable for you. Place your palms over your shoulders and flat. You're just going to bridge up, arch your back as high as you can. Up and stretch. From here you can press slightly with your arms. You can rock with your heels, rocking forward and backward. Okay? And just hold it till you feel comfortable. Again, an 8 count is sufficient. Stretch. Okay. The back stretch, waist stretching, hip stretching, hamstring stretching, ankle stretching, various stretches, but they all work together to make a complete Wushu artist. These are some of the more basic, intermediate, and a touch on some of the advanced stretches. Also in stretching, you can use apparatus, or say a wall, or a ledge, or a table, or a stick, or a partner to get your full benefit, or even go further than you would if you were just stretching individually. One good stretch would be placing your leg up on a countertop or a ledge or a beam or a bar, and then doing that stretch. What this leads to is the advanced level which is required for Wushu flexibility. Once you gain flexibility, there's drills which combine stretching with strength, or flexibility with strength. I'd like to demonstrate a couple of those for you. Okay, the first one